Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Good evening. We were discussing about the Katha Upanishad. Last class, we went through various definitions of the term Veda, and we also saw how Vedas do not mean any particular book, but they mean a treasure of knowledge which has been revealed to many seers called Mantradrashta or Rishi. Then we also saw various classifications of Vedas based upon their content and also based upon what they teach. Today, we will move on from there. These things we saw that Shruti is something which is transferred to us through oral tradition from the root Shru, and how there are two types of knowledge, Paravidya, Aparavidya, and also there is Mantra or Samhita, then Brahmana, Aranyaka, and then Upanishads in the Vedas. Then we also saw the classification of Vedas based on the type of text, prose, poetry, and song. Prose, hymn or song, and so Vedas are called Trayi, a group of three. Then we saw what is Karma Kanda, the section of the Vedas which talk about actions or rituals are called Karma Kanda. Upasana Kanda is the section which deals with worship or prayers, and Jnana Kanda is the section which deals with knowledge, generally found towards the end of the Vedas, and generally this is the section where Upanishads are contained. We also saw what is an Agama. It's a traditional doctrine which is passed on and which commands faith. Nigama, which is a settled text, which is an authority, the authority of which is accepted by everyone. Then Amnaya, Vedic wisdom, which gives wisdom out of repetition. Then we saw that Vedanta is Vedasya Anta, the end or the last word of the Vedas, the culmination of the Vedas. And we saw the quotation from Muktiko Upanishad which says that Vedanta is contained in the entire Vedas. So it's not just the last portion or the Aranyaka portion which contains Vedanta, but almost the whole Vedas contain Vedanta. It's for us to decipher it, just like oil is contained in the til seeds or sesame seeds. Now we go forward to see the traditional account, popular, about the classification of Vedas. Vedas are known to have been classified by a person called Veda Vyasa. The term Vyasa is a generic term which means classification, arrangement, the person who arranges or classifies, the person who discusses anything or explains, expounds a thing. For example, a person who takes classes or gives classes on Bhagavata is called a Bhagavata Vyasa, and anyone expounding or clarifying things is called a Vyasa. So this word Vyasa in Sanskrit has got many meanings. In fact, one of the meanings of Vyasa is diameter of a circle. So as I have been telling you earlier also, same word has lot of meanings in Sanskrit. It's a very rich language, and that is why we need the help of commentators to find out the specific meaning used in the particular context. So we are not clear whether Veda Vyasa was the same person or there were many people at various times who classified Vedas. But this is more like a title, something like Minister of, say, Sports or something like that. So we know that somebody was there who at various times classified Vedas. And in the Dwapara Yuga, we know that a person came whose name was Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, and Veda Vyasa was given the responsibility of protecting the treasure house of spiritual knowledge of Vedas, and he put into words whatever he knew till that time, and he gave this responsibility further to 4 of his disciples. We know from traditional wisdom that 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. Rig Veda contains what is called as Rig, known either as formulae or known as hymns. Yajur Veda contains Yajush, again known as Gadya or prose or again formulae, and Sama Veda contains predominantly songs. Atharva Veda contains all these 3 types of texts, and that is why it is called, Vedas are called Trayi. Some people mistakenly think that there are only 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajur and Sama, and Atharva Veda is no Veda at all. That is a wrong notion. Now Rig Veda was given, the responsibility of propagating the Rig Veda was given by Veda Vyasa to one of his disciples called Paila. And Yajur Veda, the responsibility of preserving Yajur Veda was given to one of his disciples called Vaishampayana. And the responsibility of preserving Sama Veda was given to Jaimini. Again, we do not know whether this is the same Jaimini who later on propounded the Mimamsa philosophy, wrote the Mimamsa Sutras. We do not know. Then Atharva Veda, the responsibility of preserving and propagating it was given to Sumantu. These 4, Paila, Vaishampayana, Jaimini and Sumantu, were the disciples of Veda Vyasa. Here we have an interesting story. We always love stories, so I will go for this story also. Yagyavalkya Rishi, the sage Yagyavalkya, in the scriptures, in the Vedas, there are many accounts involving this sage. And going by what the scriptures tell us, Vedas tell us, we find that this person was very assertive. and he knew what he was talking about. If you go to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you will see a wonderful discussion between him and Janaka, who was called the Rajrishi, a royal sage. Or you will find a discussion between him and his wives Maitreyi and Gargi. What? Maitreyi and Gargi. Gargi and Katyayani. So we see that one person is satisfied with the worldly wealth, but Gargi goes for spiritual wisdom, and she pulls Yagyavalkya into a interesting, engaging dialogue. You find it in the 4th chapter of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Now, even there we find a rather apparently egotistic Yagyavalkya, who says that all these 1,000 cows which you are presenting to various brahmanas, he tells it to say the king Janaka, he tells that you give all of them to me because I know the true wisdom. And all these cows had lot of gold coins tied to their horns, and he says that you give them to me, I know the wisdom and I will tell you, I will give you that wisdom. So this Yagyavalkya did this much later in his life, but even when he was young, he had this very clear concept of what he knew, and so we will find this story. It's an interesting story involving how this story tells us how, you see, Vaishampayana was given the responsibility of preserving Yajurveda, and Yagyavalkya was one of his disciple of Vaishampayana. Now this story is about how the two major divisions of Yajurveda were born. What are the divisions? One is called Shukla Yajurveda. Shukla means white in Sanskrit, and another one is called Krishna Yajurveda. So how these two divisions came to be is what we will see in the story. I would like to remind you that because Vedas have been transmitted orally, because we didn't have pen drives and CD-ROMs and DVDs and blue disc, etc., etc. So they were transmitted orally. So there have been lot of shakas which have been translated into English as recensions. A person, for example, Paila, gave Rig Veda to one of his disciples or to many of his disciples. Each disciple took this Rig Veda, and because they were transmitted orally, they used to chant it. We will see different types of chanting, and these chanting types or modes of chanting were kept to remember the text. Like, if you remember, most of us have the experience of memorizing multiplication tables, like so that we go on by rote, we start repeating, and when you repeat, you try to do this oscillation, and I don't know, there is some kind of connection. So you do that, and then by that end of the process you remember or you memorize some kind of text. So that is what is done. And if you go to various tolls, that is Sanskrit schools, there are many even in West Bengal, in Uttar Pradesh, in South India, in West India. You will see many young kids in the morning with their tuft of hair, shika, they are doing this. Some people do this, and Samavedis, they keep their fingers like this and they will do this. There is a big branch of Samaveda in Kerala, so they go on doing this. Somehow they have some kind of peculiar body movements to match with the process of memorizing. It is by memorizing this way that these texts, huge texts, if what we get today in textual form is to be believed, then huge texts were transmitted from one generation to another. And while doing so, we see that in some place there have been some minor alterations. Maybe the sage had become old and he was having a slur in his speech and the disciple could not. So, transmission problem. So, there was some transmission problem and there was, so these are called patha beda or difference in patha or reading, difference in reading, or pathantara, difference in reading. And every shakha, we saw earlier, there are many shakhas named according to the person or the school from which this shakha originated. Kanva shakha, Madhyandhina shakha, Kauthuma shakha, Katha shakha. That is why Katha Upanishad is named Katha Upanishad, because it comes from a recension called Katha shakha. So, all these shakhas, somewhere you will find some minor differences. Most of the universities, like the Baroda University, or before Baroda University it was called, there was a series of publications regarding Sanskrit texts. It was called Gayakwad Oriental Series and it was sponsored by the Raja of Gayakwad. So, earlier on, all these royalties, they used to sponsor culture, literature and studies. They will have very wonderful and genius musicians come and perform, and they used to sponsor them. They used to be patrons for all these people. So, Gayakwad Oriental Series, or you have Mysore Oriental Series. Gayakwad Oriental Series was later on taken by Baroda University, Mysore by Mysore University, then Madras Oriental Series by Madras University. These people have published what you call critical editions of Sanskrit texts. What are these critical editions? So, what they used to do is, they used to bring together about 300, 400 scholars from across the country who would have gone through various versions of a Sanskrit scripture, either print version, which is very few, but a more manuscript version, palm leaf version, and they will bring all these versions together in various languages. They will bring it together and they will make one version which will account all the differences in reading. So, you have a critical edition of, say, Shankaracharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So, there suddenly you see that on the second shloka of the second chapter, there is a difference. They say that in this edition which we got from Srinagar, we find that this word has been put like this. So, these critical editions are marvelous works, wonderful works, and they give you lot of insight on different kinds of recensions, shakas. So, how Shukla Yajurveda was born. This is a pencil sketch of Yagyavalkya Rishi. We didn't have photography at that time, so somebody has imagined and drawn this. And this is what you call in English patridge or tittira. You can find this in zoos also. I believe Alipur Zoo has got this. So, tittira. Now, we will come to this, why this tittira is important in this. So, the story is something like that. Yagyavalkya was the son of the sister of Mahamuni Vaishampayana. See, always sisters, brother, or sisters, husband and wife's brother, all these people create a lot of problem. It is known by popular legend that you cannot avoid them and you cannot face them as some kind of difficulty. So, Yagyavalkya was the son of the sister of Mahamuni Vaishampayana. So, there is some other relationship also. You cannot simply dismiss the disciple. Difficult. The teacher of Yajurveda, Vaishampayana, he was studying the Yajurveda from Vaishampayana, who was also his guru, obviously. Vaishampayana had many other disciples too, and they were all students of the Yajurveda because Vaishampayana was the custodian of Yajurveda. Once all the rishis decided to form an association. They had associations those days also, near the Meru mountain, and made a rule that any rishi who absented himself at the appointed hour should incur the sin of Brahma Hatya. So, Brahma Hatya is killing a Brahmana. So there are many offenses which has this sin, which will cause you this sin of. So this is not anything related to Vedas. This is something related to what we call smritis, which are moral codes. So as I have been telling you earlier also, today's smriti is Indian Penal Code or Criminal Procedure Code. So we don't need to bother about these things. People try to make these texts sacrosanct. They have no meaning. So Manusmriti told that, and so much of operation is going on in India because of Manusmriti. Nobody really cares about Manusmriti. So give us a break. So we don't need that kind of an analysis of these texts because they were relevant at that particular time. Now they are all irrelevant. So like if you do something, you can get life imprisonment. Similarly, there has been a effort by many people that anybody who throws acid on a woman should get life imprisonment, and I think it is good. You should get that. So like that, they made a rule that if somebody is not attending this, he will get the sin of Brahma Hatya, killing of a Brahmana, for 7 days. Means that particular time. Those days also they knew that Indians, they have this Indian stretchable time. So they told that if you don't come on the particular in time, then you have to. So for 7 days, this sin will remain only for 7 days. So on that appointed day fell the Shraddha ceremony of Vaishampayana's father, and Vaishampayana thought, somehow I have to perform my father's ceremony. If the sin of Brahma Hatya comes to me, my disciples will observe the expiatory penance therefore. So you see, always whenever you get a punishment, you can always go for an appeal. Sessions Court, High Court, Supreme Court, then President of India is always there. So like that, those days also you have this. So he said that, okay, I will incur this sin, but I have so many disciples, when will these people come to use? So I will ask them to do this, what is called as Prayashchitta, expiatory ceremony. So when Vaishampayana thought this, then he did not attend the meeting of the rishis, and accordingly he incurred the sin of Brahma Hatya. Now comes the real part of the story. Then Vaishampayana called all his chelas, disciples, and told, now I have to expiate this great sin of Brahma Hatya, therefore you will all observe for my sake an expiatory penance for 7 days. Because 7 days you have Brahma Hatya sin, so 7 days you have to observe this penance, do some tapasya. So immediately Yajnavalkya stood up. He said, "O Guru, all these are poor spirited young students. Means they don't have, neither they have brains, neither they have the physical vigor. So they will not be able to undergo such a hard penance. So instead of all, I myself alone shall observe it in the manner in which nobody else can." So much of self-esteem he has got. So he said, don't bother these poor people, let them be exempted. So I will take care about the whole thing. Vaishampayana said that don't do it alone. But Yajnavalkya said that no, I will do it alone. And this annoyed Vaishampayana. He said that, okay, you are very proud and very conceited, you get away from me, you are not fit for being a disciple, my disciple. Enough of you who is disposed to despise wise Brahmins. Give back to me immediately whatever you have learned from me. Maybe he had an attack on his ego because all other disciples were also his disciples. So he said, what is this? I have trained them and you now tell that they are useful for nothing, useless. So now probably they had a system of uploading and downloading those days. So when this happened, immediately Yajnavalkya told that, okay, I give back whatever I learnt. How? He simply vomited out the knowledge. So he simply gave back, transferred the files back to. So the vomit, mamsa pinda, it came out as a form of food, vomited out in a form of flesh, some collection of flesh. And the other disciples, so they did not go into the debate of vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism. They simply turned themselves into the bird which we saw, Titira. They became Titira birds and pecked on that flesh which came out. And it came out in a dark form, black color. And Titira birds are also having some dark color. So that is why this part of the Yajurveda which came out is called Krishna Yajurveda. But you see, now Yajnavalkya has become a fool. He has become an ignorant person. He does not have any Vedic knowledge. So he went again to the sun god Surya, who is also called Vajasaneyi. He is called Vajasaneyi. He went to him and again worshipped sun, and sun is supposed to know all the 4 Vedas, and he worshipped and he praised him, did so much of stuti, and then learnt Yajurveda afresh from Surya Bhagavan, sun god. So there is a stuti which Yajnavalkya wrote for Surya Bhagavan. So he gave, Surya Bhagavan, the sun god, was pleased by with Yajnavalkya, and he gave that wisdom. Because sun god, who is white in color, gave this wisdom, it is called Shukla Yajurveda. This part of Yajurveda is called, or not this part, this Yajurveda, this edition of Yajurveda is called Shukla Yajurveda. And that which Vaishampayana got is called Krishna Yajurveda. You see, because of a misunderstanding with his disciple, his Yajurveda became black. And he went and worshipped sun god and it became white. And it is also called Vajasaneyi. Vajasaneyi means, because Vajasaneya is Krishna, Surya, sun god. Vajasaneyi is that which is related to sun god. It is called Vajasaneyi or Vajasaneya Yajurveda. And you have a Vajasaneyi Upanishad also. Upanishad which comes from Yajurveda. This Shukla Yajurveda will be called a Vajasaneyi Upanishad. Vaja means horse, Ashwa in Sanskrit. And Vajasaneyi is one who controls the Ashwa using his reins. So traditionally it is believed that the chariot of Surya Bhagavan has 4 Ashwas. How many of you have gone to Konark? Oh, almost all. So the original temple is not there, it has been reconstructed, and there you have some kind of the original architecture was grand, but again it has been reconstructed. Now Vajasaneya Yajurveda has been classified again into 15 branches, and this portion which is contained in Yajurveda is called Yajush. You will find in some texts of the Vedas, Yaju, Gumshi, Yajush. It is neuter gender, Yajush. The other person did not come? Yeah. So he asked, last time he was asking a question, who or where is the authority that Veda text should be called only mantra and not shloka? So I had noted it down and I wanted to clarify that. So because this also we simply accept, probably we are very blind. So whatever the teacher told, we accept. Then I called one of the great scholars in Sanskrit today in India. It's called Sitanath Goswami, and I called him and he said that, Maharaj, this is what is being told through tradition. To differentiate between Laukika text or the mundane text and Vedic text, it is told. But technically this is not true. That is what he told me. Why? Because as he rightly pointed out the other day, mantra brahmanayoho namadheyam, Veda namadheyam, which is the definition of Sainacharya for Vedas. That Veda means that which contains mantra and brahmana. So since Veda contains Brahmana also, you cannot just call it mantra, one. Second, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in his commentary, Shankaracharya, in his commentary on the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, he quotes a part, various places he quotes various Vedas, Upanishads, but in one place he says shloka. He uses the word shloka for Upanishadic text. So Shankaracharya has used this word shloka for Upanishadic text. And number 3 is, you have this type of text called Yajush. Like in the Rig Veda we call it Rik, in Yajur Veda we call it Yajush, which means nothing but prose. But then again here, because it is Yajush, you cannot call it mantra. So this is separate. But for making things simpler and life comfortable, we say mantra. Otherwise you will have to say what is the text, then you will have to find out whether it is Brahmana or Yajush or Rik, etc. So to make life simpler, we say mantra. That is okay, but technically this is what is there. And I would like to add some more things which he told. He said, now the discussion on Vedas have become very less, and it is something, a very painful fact. This is something which we need to take account of. We need to discuss this which has been given to us as a legacy, as a heritage. He says that we need to keep this kind of discussion alive, and otherwise we will never understand the value of what we have got. Another thing I want to share with you is, a person, a scholar who is not an Indian, non-Indian scholar in Sanskrit, he has written an article on Sanskrit education in India, and there he says that the plight of this language, and when we talk about Sanskrit, it is not just a language. You have a huge body of literature, not only religious, non-religious also, like classical Sanskrit literature, Kalidasa and so many other things. So this Sanskrit language is being neglected to such an extent that if somebody wants to do a serious study of Sanskrit, he or she has to go abroad, India, overseas, and it has become nearly impossible to do a serious study of Sanskrit in India. It's a very pathetic and unfortunate fact, but it is a fact all the same. And the reason is because of the indifference of both Indian public and Indian government towards this language, and also because of the very bad academic standard in India, in general in humanities, specifically in Sanskrit. So this coming from a person, an European scholar, this was very striking to me. It was like a blow at my head, but this is the fact. Even I am aware of that, and I have been telling you, one friend of mine who is in the university of our university, Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda University, he had to do a research, a paper on what we call a text of Harsha, Sri Harsha, called Khandana Khanda Khadya. And the only English translation he could not get in any library in India. He had to get it from Cambridge. So just imagine, that is the plight we are in. But having said that, I will tell you again that though people coming outside the tradition are today maybe having access to resources to do, they have better access to better resources to do these studies, but still because they are out of the tradition, it makes them not fit actually to understand these things. The very concept of rebirth is something which you have to a person who is not in the Indian tradition has to very forcefully understand, but it comes natural to a person who is in the Indian tradition. So let us all strive hard to preserve this wisdom, first by trying to understand it ourselves, and second trying to appreciate people who understand it or who want to understand it. So the Sitanath Goswami, he said that Swamiji, you do this work and you are translating other scriptures also into English which do not have any English translation. So you please do, and this is a great work, and I pray that you have long life, though I don't want long life, because the smaller life the better, the shorter the better. So this thing is very important, and we need to have this thing in mind so that we start using this language for really practical purposes. That is one thing. Now this is how Kanva, Madhyantina and other branches came. So that was the story of how Shukla Yajurveda was born. Now main texts of Vedanta, they are called the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. I have been discussing it earlier also. We call this group of 3 texts as Prasthanatraya. Prasthanatraya. Triple canon of Vedanta. Not with double N, okay, C-A-N-O-N. Double N means that top, not that canon. 3 systems of knowledge, and the Upanishads constitute the revealed texts they are the Shruti Prasthana, and Prasthana can mean system, it can mean knowledge. So Shruti Prasthana is the system of Shrutis, that is Upanishads, the final or the last word of Upanishad of the Vedas. The Brahma Sutra, it contains 555 sutras. They set forth the teachings of Vedanta in a logical order, and lot of analysis is done, lot of what we call in Sanskrit Mimamsa is done, analysis is done, and the logic and rationality of Vedas in general and Upanishads in particular is proven there. So that is why it is called Nyaya Prasthana, system of logic. And the Smriti Prasthana, Smriti coming from the root smr means something which is carried in memory. Because Mahabharata is not Shruti, it is considered Smriti, and some people consider it as Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So since Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, it is called Smriti Prasthana, which is the quintessence of the entire Vedas. Now this is the important body of texts, because Vedas are very huge and it may not be possible for us to go into the Vedas proper in a short period, because we want everything instant nowadays. So they also knew, our teachers, that these people would want everything instant. Okay, fast food, to eat it takes 5 minutes, but to prepare it may take 1 hour. So fast food. So everything we want instant. So they also given instant things. Is that, like the other day somebody was asking me, how do I study this? So you can take any one Upanishad and study, and there are so small Upanishads like the Katha Upanishad, only the meaning. So it is not a big thing, particularly for you people, you always keep on studying. No, I was talking to Professor Mandal, I was saying that maybe in dreams also you have all this formula popping out. It's possible. So when you do that, you can always tackle a small text like this. So Prasthanatraya has been given to us. This Vedavyasa collated Brahma Sutras, and Vedavyasa wrote Mahabharata, and you know the legend or the traditional story about how Mahabharata was written, that Vedavyasa started writing, so he wanted a person who can write, a scribe, and he found that Ganesha was the best, Ganesha Chaturthi. So Ganesha was the best suited for this. And talking about Ganesha Chaturthi, you have no connection with the festival and the songs which blare in the speaker. Just believe, on my way here, I was like, Sheila Ki Javani was going on. I said, what? Ganesha Chaturthi, I was asking the driver, say, what is the connection between this and the Ganesha Chaturthi? So, no connection whatsoever. Anyway. So,
the song brought much wealth for that.
Okay. So, no connection. So, now scribe was Ganesha and Ganesha was told that you should write. Ganesha saw that it will be very difficult for me to write. Now, if Vedavyasa goes on telling, so it will be difficult. Then, how do I stop? Give him some challenge. So, he said, okay, I will write. You should not stop telling. Then I can write. So, Vedavyasa saw, oh, this is also going to be tough. How can I continuously tell? So, he also thought of a trick. He said that, okay, I will tell that way, agreed to your condition, but you will have to write only what you have understood. So, see, the battle of wits. So, he started telling, and whenever he found that he is running out of ideas, he gave a very obtuse composition of shloka and make it very complicated. Like professionals, they give you a problem where there is no problem, and offer you a solution for a price. This is the definition of professionals I made. So, you go to a doctor and you say that I am all right. He says, no, you are the doctor or am I the doctor? You do these tests 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and finally he finds that somewhere in your body something is wrong, so you have to be admitted, and then don't worry, I am here, I will save you. So, like that, this person also told that, okay, he will make some very tough shloka, and then Ganesha will be thinking, processing going on, and then by that time he will have further ideas. So, like that Mahabharata was written. So, Vedavyasa only gave Bhagavad Gita. It was Vedavyasa who gave Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads were already there in the Vedas, but Vedavyasa was the person who collated the Upanishads. So, in one sense we can say that Vedavyasa is the author of the Prasthanatraya. Not Vedas, we cannot say is the author, but he has compiled. And so this has been given. Now here also, where this Prasthanatraya, there is a traditional order of studying Prasthanatraya. First you study the Bhagavad Gita, then you study the Upanishads, and then you study the Brahma Sutra, because otherwise it will be difficult for you to understand. And that is the krama or the order. Even in Upanishads, you have an order. So many Upanishads were known to be there, we will come to that later, but you select some Upanishads and study them, even they are studied in a particular order. Now, apart from these texts called Prasthanatraya, there are some other texts also. Like, where do you place Viveka Chudamani? I believe Atmagyananda ji used to take Viveka Chudamani here. Long back. 1 year back? Huh? Yeah.
Not to the text, you might have not text them some part of it.
Some part of it. So, Viveka Chudamani, where do you place this text? They are called, what are called? Prakarana Granthas. Prakarana. Prakarana, Sanskrit, in Prakarana, the word in Sanskrit means section or a particular part. Grantha means obviously book or text. So, you can call them auxiliary philosophical texts. What it does is, it introduces, it elaborates, it clarifies some parts of the Prasthanatraya, either from the Gita or from the Upanishads or from the Brahma Sutra. It takes some particular part, it clarifies it, and yet it teaches something more, it adds something to it. So, these texts help us to understand scriptures in a proper light. So, Viveka Chudamani is wonderful because how do you actually practice what is given in the Upanishads? It helps you to put them in proper context and proper perspective, and they prioritize the teachings of the scriptures. So, there is a small shloka defining a Prakarana Grantha. Shastraika desha Shastraika desha Sambaddham Shastra Karyantare Sthitam Ahu Prakaranam Nama Grantha Bedam Vipashchitah. Shastraika desha, Eka desha, that which takes a particular part, Sambaddham, is related to a particular part of Shastras. Shas coming from the root Shas, which means to rule or to order or to control. So scriptures, it takes one particular part, some particular part of the scriptures is related to one particular part of the scriptures. Shastra karyantare sthitam. And also karyantare, it also serves some other purpose other than what is explicitly given in the scriptures. Karyantare, some other purpose also. Karya plus antare. Antare means some other here. That is the meaning. Ahu prakaranam nama, and that is what is called as prakaranam. Grantha Vedam Vipashchitah. This is what is called prakarana by people. Now prakarana, there is another definition as short manual that confines itself to some essential topics of a Shastra scripture. A prakarana treatise has 4 indispensable elements or anubandhas. Now we will see certain classical axioms or principles used in the traditional study of scriptures in Hindu philosophy or Indian philosophy. This is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. Chatushtaya means a group of 4 or quadrant, group of 4, quartet, sorry. Chatushtaya, Anubandha Chatushtaya, 4 Anubandhas. What are the Anubandhas? What are these? Means 4 relational aspects. What are these? First is, or you can call them preliminary questions. What are this? First is adhikari. When you want to enter into any institution, either for employment or education, first thing is qualification. Either you are overqualified or underqualified, whatever. You should be, that qualification is the eligibility criteria, skill set what you should need, you should possess. So adhikari, who is the adhikari? Whether you have the qualification. Then the determination of the student's fitness for the study is called adhikari. Vishaya. Then what is the subject matter of that particular text? So any text has these 4 things. Even for Upanishads you can have this. But generally for Vedas as a whole, generally, particularly in Advaita Vedanta, they say that the Anubandha Chatushtaya is almost same. But you can have it for every part of the Vedas. So first is adhikari, that is students' qualifications. Second is Vishaya. Adhikari means fit student, the student who is fit. But here generally we use it in the sense of qualifications. Then Vishaya, the subject matter. Then Sambandha. Sambandha is the relation of the subject and the text. Whatever text you are talking about. Many people nowadays write books on God, and there will be nothing godly about the whole book. So there will be nothing about God. You just go from cover to cover and find there is nothing. So that should not happen. You should have a relation between the text and the subject matter. It should make sense. Then the mutual, somebody wrote a book on, how you should overcome mental problem, and I went through the book seriously and I had serious mental problem. So sometimes it happens like that. So then you have prayojana. What is the utility of studying this particular treatise? See how logical or rational our forefathers were. So first you see the qualification, second is Vishaya, the subject matter, and the relation between the subject matter and the text treatise, that is called Sambandha, and Prayojana. What is the use of studying this? So if most of us are asked this question when we enter into educational institutions, most of us will say it is useless. Most of the things which we study find no application in real life. So Prayojana, the object to be attained by the study. Some examples of Prakarana Granthas are like Aparokshanubhuti. You are all experts, masters of Aparokshanubhuti. So you know Aparokshanubhuti, then Vedanta Sara, Upadesha Sahasri, Drigdrishya Viveka, Vivek Chudamani. Yes, and Aparokshanubhuti also was studied. You are all masters, I told you. So, suppose PhD. So, this is, so what are the Anubandha Chatushtaya? Adhikari. by what is my past experience, I think I will have to ask questions like this to break your sleep. So, see, we have two kinds of sleep. Long back, two kinds of sleep in which one you close your eyes, the other one where you do not. So, long back a person gave me advice about meditation. He said, meditation, you should understand the knack of meditation, how to fall asleep without actually bending your back. Sit erect but fall asleep. So, now this is what he used to do. He will sit erect and fall asleep. So, you may be looking at me, wide open eyes, but I believe many of you are going asleep. No? Hibernation mode. So, please don't do that. So, what are the four Anubandha Chatushtaya? Anubandha Chatushtaya? Now tell me. You are seeing that and Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojana. Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojana. AVSP. Okay. You just remember RSVP and AVSP. So, Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojana. So, this is Anubandha Chatushtaya, and this you need to remember because this will be coming up whenever you take up any text. This is very important. And if you can study this Anubandha Chatushtaya in every text, then it makes life simpler. You understand what you are actually studying.
Regarding that Adhikari, does it only imply intelligence or there is something else?
We will come to that. So, usually Vedanta Sara is a text which generally gives you what are the different Adhikari. So, Adhikari, there they say that you should have 4 qualifications. Sadhana Chatushtaya. Anybody can tell me what is Sadhana Chatushtaya? Only that from there. No more answers from there. So, anybody is giving more answers, they are disqualified from giving further answers. Anybody else who can tell me what is Sadhana Chatushtaya?
Vivek, Vairagya, Shraddha, Sampatti, and Mumukshutva.
Wow. So, Viveka is Nitya, Anitya, Viveka. What is real, what is unreal. The discernment between these two, always you analyze this and come to a conclusion what is real. Whether going to this particular auditorium at this time and wasting my time is real, or whether it is necessary, or doing something fruitful is more wonderful. So, that kind of Viveka. Then, Vairagya. Vairagya is Iha Amutra Phala Bhoga Viraga. Means detachment from the result, the fruits to be enjoyed, Iha in this world, and Amutra in the other world. Phala Bhoga, enjoyment of fruits, Viraga. The detachment from that, non-attachment is called Vairagya. And then Samadhi, not Samadhi, Shamadhi, Adi, Shatka, 6, group of 6, Sampatti. Sampatti means wealth. The wealth of, you should possess the wealth of Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Samadhana, Uparati, Shraddha. So, this you should possess. Okay. Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti, and then finally is Mumukshutva. So, going by these qualifications, I am very sure neither I am qualified, neither any of you are qualified, nor any of you are qualified. So, none of us are qualified, but still, because these books have been printed, we dare to enter into the discussion. Okay. Let us not harbor any misconception that anybody is qualified. Do you think you are qualified? Huh? No, silence. No. What? Hibernation mode. So, no, do you think you are qualified? No. Because I asked you the question, there should be somebody like Yagyavalkya who tells me, no, you are a fool, I am qualified. So, nobody is there. Anyway, so, no, all these 4 sampattis you should have. Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti, then Mukshatva. You may say that you may have Viveka, you may say that Vairagya you have, because there is no way I can, verify that. But if we come to the other thing, what is the Shama, Dhamma, Uparakti, Titiksha. So if I go on telling nonsense, then you may come and beat me. So I understand that Titiksha is somehow lacking. So you see, it is very difficult. But still, what they tell is, what the tradition says is that you will become totally qualified only when you realize the truth. Till then, nobody is 100% qualified. Because to attain complete control of the senses, you should attain realization. So it's very confusing. It's like chicken and egg story. First, whether there was a chicken or whether egg, we don't know. Anyway, now this will be coming Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, Prayojana. Now we go to another topic of Purushartha. Purushartha means what? Purusha Artha. As I told you the other day, Purusha does not mean only man. It means woman also. In law there is a thing called interpretation of statutes, and there is a act in India called Interpretation of the Statutes Act, and there are so many definitions, and there is a definition he includes she, because most of the laws they don't have she, so it says he includes she. So similarly Purusha includes woman. This is Vedic Sanskrit, and it has got different, as I was telling you earlier, Putra does not mean only son. It may be the use in later Sanskrit or Laukika Sanskrita, but in Vedic Sanskrit, Putra does not necessarily mean son. By fulfilling Purushartha, Artha means the goal of a, Artha can mean many things, but in this context it means goal or aim of a human being. Now one gets fulfillment for life and also status, sustains the society. Now there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And somehow they are called Chaturvarga also. Some people call them Chaturvarga. And Dharma is righteousness, Artha is wealth, and Kama is fulfillment of desires, and Moksha is liberation. I did lot of Google search to find this photograph, and then 4 steps are there, and it is little old to give you a old feel. In fact, I had a full-fledged artist to get this photograph. So this old, something we get through tradition, Vedic tradition, is 4 steps, and these 4 steps are graded steps, and moksha is the ultimate step. So that is the idea in this photograph. Dharma should be the basis for artha and kama. So fulfillment of desire does not mean that you desire anything and you can. It should be a righteous desire. It should be a lawful desire, something which you can desire. And dharma is what is, so you can find a parallel between these 4 purusharthas and the 4 ashramas, stages of life. First is the louder please. Okay, in brahmacharya ashrama you have studies. You study and you understand things about dharma. Dharma does not mean religion, it means way of life. So you understand. Then next is garhastha. So there it is dharma artha. So you see artha, it is garhastha or grihastha, householder, who gets wealth, acquires wealth. So the artha. Now garhastha also is the period when you fulfill desires. Now grihastha ashrama or the garhastha, the person who is in the grihastha ashrama, is supposed to be the highest person among all the ashramas. Why? Because the householder is the person who sustains all the other 3 ashramas. Householder gives money for the child to study. Householder gives money for the retired parents. May not be in the same house, but maybe in old age home. But anyway, money is given. And then householder provides this donation to sadhus also. So this, all these other ashramas, sannyasa, vanaprastha and brahmacharya, are sustained by grihastha ashrama. So most of you can give a pat on your back that you are all belonging to the highest ashrama. Something you need, some kind of solace. So this is how you have a parallel between parallel with the 4 ashramas. Then the 4 varnas. 4 varnas. What are the 4 varnas? Varnas. Varna also means color in Sanskrit. Krishna varna, Shukla varna, color. Or it can also mean denomination, or in this case caste or category. So 4 varnas. Now this 4 varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, the combination of varna and ashrama is called varnashrama dharma. So you belong to a particular varna, you follow the varna method of life, and you also follow the ashrama method of life. Now this varna is a highly debated topic, we will not get into that, but I will just give you certain things. That varna is not, as we know, guna karma vibhageshu in Gita, varna was not by birth. It is like telling that because you were born of doctor parents, you also should become a doctor. Most of them actually do so, but it is not like that. Varna was not originally meant to be that. It is by your guna and karma. The karma, what you have, that karma can be interpreted in 2 ways. What you do and also what you have acquired. The prarabdha karma, actions, your past actions, results of past actions. Out of that you attain to one varna. So varna is this, and ashrama system of life you follow, that is called varnashrama dharma. This way of life which includes both varna system and ashrama system. So these are basic things which you need to know before you enter into the study of any traditional Indian scripture. This is a painting from Bhagavata. So Bhagavata, what does Bhagavata mean? Anyone? One person. Not all together, anyone can. What does Bhagavata mean? Anyone, please? Huh? Story of God. Story of God. Bhagavata means anything that is related to Bhagavan. Bhagavan is called Bhagavata. Shashwata. There are so many words like that. Dasharatha. You might have heard this word, Dasharatha. Dasharathi. Can you tell me who is Dasharathi? Why does that word come? Dasharathi. One who is connected with Dasharatha is Dasharathi. Janaki. One who is connected with Janaka is Janaki. So there is a rule of grammar in Panini's Ashtadhyayi which says that you need to make words like that. We will not get into the niceties of that rule and spoil your head. So, and mine also. So this is what? So Janaka, Janaki, Dasharatha, Dasharatha or Dasharati. Similarly, Bhagavan, Bhagavata. So one which is related to Bhagavan. What does Bhagavan mean? Bhagavan mean Acharyavan Purusho Veda. How many of you heard this statement? Nobody. Acharyavan Purusho Veda means one who has Acharya, who has Guru, will understand his true nature. That is what the scriptures say. So Acharyavan means one who possesses Acharya. Dhanavan means one who possesses Dhana. So this Van, this is a suffix added to a word in the case of masculine gender, or in the case of feminine gender, Vati, Dhanavati, Putravati. So you have sons, Putravati. So this Vati is added in the sense of possessorship. You possess that. Are you following this? Please try to follow. If anyone has any difficulty, tell me, because later on we will not be coming back to these things. These are basic things you should know. So Bhagavan means related to Bhaga, not God. Bhagavan is.
Bhagavad Gita, there is some comment that one who possesses the six guns means Bhaga means
It is. It is not in Bhagavad Gita.
It is called Bhagwan.
It is not in Bhagavad Gita. So please sit down. So that is what we are coming to. Bhaga is a class of qualities. The word Bhaga means a class of qualities. And what are they? Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasah, Shriyah. So Aishwarya, Samagra, Virya, Yashah, Shri. Jnana Vairagyashchaiva, then Jnana and Vairagya. Oh, Aishwarya, Virya, Yasha and Shri, the four quality. Samagra Aishwarya, complete Aishwarya. Not only Aishwarya in knowledge, wealth, everything. Whole Aishwarya. Aishwarya is splendor, prosperity. Aishwarya, Samagrasya Aishwaryasya, Viryasya, Virya, valor or energy. Yashasha, glory. Shri, again glory. These words are very difficult to translate. So Shri, again it can mean splendor or. So in Bhagavad Gita it is there. So one who has this Shri has got a part of me, that is Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Vishnu. So Aishwarya, Samagra Aishwarya, Virya, Yashaha and Shriyah, Shri, and Jnana and Vairagya. These are the six qualities. Shanna Bhaga Itingana. Shanna means six. This group of six, Bhaga Itingana, is known as Iti Ingana. Ingana means known as Bhaga. So a person who has these six qualities is called Bhagavan. So nowadays it has become a fad to call anybody and everybody as Bhagavan. So please check whether they have these qualities. How you will check, I don't know. Then you have the other word, Purana. Pura plus na. Anything related to ancient. Pura means ancient. Anything related to Pura is called Purana. So they are what I prefer to call historical novels. So they are mythological accounts of what could have or could not have happened. We don't know. There are 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas. Main Puranas are 18. All were written by Vedavyasa. And 18 Upapuranas. So Vedavyasa, there is this very famous story that he was sitting near Saraswati river and thinking, what will happen? I wrote the Mahabharata, I compiled all the Vedas, and I wrote 17 Puranas and so many Upapuranas, everything I wrote, but still I did not get peace of mind. It is, my mind is in pieces, but it has not got peace. So he was thinking, and then, wherever some problem is there, Narayana, Narada Muni comes. He either comes before the problem or after the problem, but wherever problem is there, before or after, he will be there. So he comes there. He says Narayana, and Indian folklore is so rich with imageries. So he comes and says, what is the problem? So he says, you see, I have done so much of work, but still I don't get that. Kuch hota hai is not happening. So what to do? What is that thing which I need? No? That fulfillment, job satisfaction, I have not got. So then he says, okay, see what mistake you have done is, you have written all these Brahma Sutras and unnecessarily complicated the whole thing. You compiled all the Vedas and further complicated it. You wrote Mahabharata and Ganesha was in deep trouble and you also were in deep trouble. So instead of telling all this indirectly, tell directly what you want to tell. You have written all these things as means to attain the Lord. but you forgot to write about the Lord himself. See, you are just explaining about the road, but you have forgot to explain the destination itself. So now you forget about the road, how to reach Delhi. Now you start explaining Delhi itself. So he immediately got the flash of light and illumination, and he wrote what is called Bhagavata Mahapurana. That is the final work of, at least the tradition says that it is the final work of Vedavyasa, and after writing that he was completely fulfilled, and that is why it is called Bhagavata Mahapurana. It is the 18th Purana and it is the ultimate. Why? Because it talks about the Lord. What is the goal or the Vishaya, subject matter of the Vedas? Jiva Brahma Aikya. The identity of the individual soul and Brahman is the Pratipadya or the aim of Vedas or the subject matter of Vedas. But who is this Brahma? Or what is the nature of Lord in a dualistic context is what is written in Bhagavata. So that is how these Puranas have been written. Now we will come to how the Vedas, this is a chanting of Vedas by girls going on. So as we have seen, Vedas have been transmitted by oral tradition from generation to generation, and you have different shakas. Now, Vedas contain, as we saw in the Brahmana portion, predominantly rituals. To perform these rituals, you need to understand different measurements of the instruments which will be used in the rituals, of the sacrificial fire which will be created. So, a body of text was created called Kalpa Sutra, and this again increased the number of branches of Vedas. Now, a particular shaka or recension of Veda will contain various elements. What are they? Samhita will be there in a Veda, Brahmana will be there, Aranyaka will be there, and Kalpa Sutra. Now, this Kalpa Sutra is not part of the Veda proper, but it will tell you how to do this. It is like a tool to use this particular Vedas. So, you have a reference guide to use this. You, like if you want to venture into a difficult study, you need some kind of a reference guide or an encyclopedia or a dictionary or something like that. So, this is something like that, Kalpa Sutra. So, the whole body, Aranyaka, Samhita, Brahmana and Kalpa Sutra together is called a Shaka. And the difference between two Shakas is called Bedha, the difference. It is technically called Bedha. And the difference between the readings of two Shakas is called Pathantara or Patha Bedha. There are Shakas, Katha, Kautuma, Vajasanaya, Madhyandina, etc. Rig Veda is supposed to have 21 Shakas, Krishna Yajurveda has 94 Shakas, and Shukla Yajurveda has 15 Shakas, and Samaveda has 1000 Shakas. Why? Because it is singing. So automatically when you start singing, the differences tend to be more. So Samaveda has 1000 Shakas and Atharva Veda has 50 Shakas. Now, we will see the different kinds of chanting, how these things were preserved. Different kinds of chanting. Now, if you see a particular Vedic text written with accents, what we call matras, there are two kinds of matras. Matras which are used in the Devanagari script inside a word, they are used for denoting vowels, is it not? Ikara, Ukara, Akara, these are also matras. But there are matras which are used in Vedic texts, which are called Vaidika matra, Vedic matras, which help us in chanting or reciting the text. And you should remember that this was done to preserve the text. This is how it was transmitted from one generation to the other, from guru to the disciple. So, a text say the common mantra, which is also the mantra of Katha Upanishad. Every Upanishad has a specific Shanti mantra. What is Shanti mantra? A mantra or a prayer which tries to invoke peace at 3 levels. You know that Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika and Adhyatmika. We will see that again. So when you see this particular text in Devanagari, how many of you cannot understand Devanagari? Please raise your hand. You cannot understand Devanagari? You can. How many of you cannot? How many of you are not able to read this? You are not able to read this? Oh, no, I see. You are not able to read this. Okay. So the first letter is Sa, second is Ha. I will advise you that please try to get a small knowledge of Devanagari. It is not very difficult. It will help you. Hindi. You don't know Hindi? No, Hindi. So Hindi में सब समय बिंदी का problem होता है. So there are 2 things which are very difficult in Hindi. One is bindi and another one is gender. Because police always khadi hai. Police is not masculine in Hindi. Police aa rahi hai or police is khadi hai. So gender is something which is.
Maharajji, actually that is police is any English word, they treat it as a feminine.
Yes.
And any like chowkidar is
Male.
Police, as it's this English word, that's why they treat it as a feminine.
No, but then again that rule does not apply universally. This gender in Hindi comes from tradition. It is Rudi. There is no rule for that. So it is Rudi. So anyway, it makes things very complicated. So one Swami, he went for a lecture and it's a very funny incident. He gave a lecture and he said, see, I am very weak in gender, so you please arrange the gender according to yourself. He told it in a language which gave other meaning also, so I am not telling you that. So he said that, मतलब आप अपना लिंग स्वयं लगा लो. So, because he did not know how to tell it in Hindi. Anyway, so sa ha na bhavatu sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu saha viryam karavavahai tejasvi navadhi dhi. Okay. Ta ma stu ma vi dvi sha va hai. This is sa, this is ha na va tu sa ha nau bhu bha nak iktu. It is a compound of ik, half ka and ta, and iktu. Sa ha viryam. This is refala, the rakara. Your mother tongue is Bengali, is it not? Yes. So you will not have difficulty learning it. Ka, ra, va. This is matra, akara. Va, hai. Te, ja, svi, na, va, dhi, ta, ma, stu. Ma, vidvi, sha, va, hai. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Now I will tell you how to chant, how actually to read these notations. So you see Vedic chanting, you have what is called udata. That is, those of you who know music, it is something, suppose it is called middle tone. The tone which you, note which you have as a note of reference. Generally, sa is what people have as reference. They take a key and hold it as sa, and from there they do sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa. So this, if you can, in chanting, for the purposes of chanting, this middle note will be pa. It should be, ideally it should be pa. In whichever scale you have, it should be pa. So you hold that pa as the normal note. Any letter without any mark will be chanted at pa. Are we clear on this? Any letter without any mark will be chanted at pa. And then there is anudata. So pa, Saregama pa. So because Anudata, it is one note lower to the middle note. So it will be, if you have taken the reference as pa, then it will be ma. Is it clear? So ma, one note, and it is called Anudata. Udata, Anu means Anuja. Anuja means younger brother. So Anuja. So similarly, Anudata. Udata, Anudata, the lower tone. Then Swarita, it is the higher tone. So pa, dhani sa. So immediately after pa comes dha. So that is the higher tone. Is it clear? It is very simple, very scientific. Please learn this. Because many times when you try to invoke gods, gods are all injured by the wrong chanting. So instead of coming, they will run away. So please don't do that. Then there is something known as Dirgha Swarita. Dirgha Swarita. Now Swarita can be Shuddha Dha or Komal Dha. Dirgha Swarita. Dirgha Swarita is 2 tones higher. So if it is Saregama Pa Dha, so you can say Ni. The ideal thing will be go to Dha and Ni and then again come back to Dha. I will show you how to chant it. So this is Sahana Vavatu. Now you see, this first is called Anudata. Ha is Udata. Okay. When you have a notation below, it is called Anudata. It is there on the screen. It is called Anudata. Okay. And when you have something on the top, it is called Swarita. It is called Swarita. No, you will take it as one. Now it will be considered one, not separately na. Then when there is no notation, it is called Udata. Ka, for example, no notation. So that should be pa. In the harmonium, generally you should not use harmonium for Vedic chanting. That is the traditional convention. Now if somebody asks where it is written, nowhere it is written. So, but it is how it comes. So this is what it is. Then you have Dirgha Swarita. This is Dirgha Swarita, where you have 2 upper marks. That is called Dirgha Swarita. Now we will listen to a chanting of this mantra by a Swami named Swami Devarupanandaji, who has written this classic text of Kyolo. Huh. So please see, Sa, the mark below Sa is called Anudata, hibernation mode. Above, one single mark above is called, 2 marks above is called, and if there is no mark, it is called Udata. Now this Swami wrote this book. It was first edition was published long back, and it was published in 1989. It is called Mantra Pushpam. There is a text called Mantra Pushpam, a Sanskrit Vedic portion which is used for purification rites. But this is not that. It is a collection of many Vedic texts, and this is so popular you will find it in the hands of almost many priests across India. So he has written in Sanskrit, he has compiled everything and put it here. So now,
In the tune that after the last Shakti, there are 2 marks, but he did not go to that 2.
There is no 2 marks.
After Shakti,
There is only 1 mark. That is full stop. That is full stop. That is Sanskrit full stop. You see, another thing I like to tell you is Sanskrit has no punctuation mark. Original Sanskrit has no punctuation mark apart from full stop. please remember this, there is no comma, semicolon in Sanskrit. All this comma, semicolon, if at all you see, is the addition by later people. In original Sanskrit, there is no quotation mark. So if suppose Shankaracharya wants to quote something, he says iti brihadaranyake. So when that is iti, you should understand that this is quotation mark is ending here. There is no quotation mark in Sanskrit, there is no apostrophe, nothing is there. Only punctuation is full this virama. We call it virama chinna or this thing. So now let us try to chant. Okay, I will chant and then please follow. Let us try to create some confusion. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Vidvishavahai. Some people, they pronounce Viryam as Viryang. Generally, Bengali has this problem. So it is not Viryang, it is Viryam. Okay. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Okay. Then generally among people who have mother tongue as Hindi, there is something in Sanskrit called Akaranta. Every word has to have a as ending. See, a vowel should be, it is not Ram, it is Rama. It is not, you should understand that. So it is not Karvavahai, it is Karavavahai. These are some regional problems. And people who are from southern states, they tend to confuse with between this ka, kha, ga, ga. So some people will say Karavavahai, not like that. It is Karavavahai. Once Swami, I asked him, he had just got sannyasa and we were serving him. I asked him, Maharaj, what is your name? He said, Chachidananda. So he belonged to a particular southern state. So he said Chachidananda. So I said, no, it is not Chachidananda, it's Satchidananda. Such a beautiful name. So Sanskrit, though Sanskrit is the mother of almost all the, or why almost, all the Indian languages, but we have created our own confusion. So let us try to chant once again. If some gods have by mistake come, then we can. Om. This is Pranava containing three sounds, as you might be knowing. A, U and Now it is believed that all sound is inside this range. So we have to give equal time for each of these syllables or extensions. A, U, Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Vidvishavahai. So some people they chant it as Vidvishavahai, not like that. It is better to chant it as you go one note above, then go a note further above and come down. Vidvishavahai